Clarus is an innovative platform that allows you to capture a market opportunity that exists in this time using Twitter's real-time data. Clarus is a very focused product. We only capture Twitter data, focus on real-time analytics, and we use Twitter's search protocol to capture tweets that match a certain keyword or search word. I'm going to explain to you today how Clarus works in clarifying social media information. How can you use it to monitor your brand, your product names, your keywords or your hashtags, your events as well. And third of all, I'm going to explain to you how to use it for market research or for product development ideas. So these are the three things we want to talk about today. First, we're going to talk about the Clarus platform. Clarus works on Twitter's search protocol, so it captures tweets that match a certain search criteria that you want. What Clarus does then is we capture these tweets. First thing is we archive them, so we can deliver all the tweets that we capture for you in an SQL format, so you can read it in any database, any SQL database. You can just import it into your database or export it as an Excel sheet, look through the tweets. Second thing we do is we start to analyze the content. We do a sentiment analysis where we figure out what people are saying about these products, whether it's a positive or negative sentiment within each tweet and the overall sentiment. And then what we can do is we can tell you how people feel about this car, what people are saying about it on Twitter, and we can capture that information for you during the product launch or during the launch of a new submodel. For example, the new Corvette, Stingray C7. There's a base model Corvette that's out in the market right now, so if we capture Twitter right now, we'll see what people are saying about the base model. But pretty soon there's going to come out a ZR1 model, which has more horsepower and an improved car. If we capture Twitter data during that time, then we're going to learn about the new model, what people are saying about the new launch. So what Clarus allows you to do is to focus on a time period, capture real-time data, capture the tweets, store them in the archive, start analyzing them for sentiment data, figure out if the sentiment is positive or negative towards the product, and then we go one step deeper than the traditional sentiment analysis. And this is where Clarus is powerful. We go into the individual objects in the tweet. So the people, the links, the media, the hashtags, and the locations. So I can tell you the sentiment towards any one of these five, then we can show you that people feel positively about these sets of links, people feel negatively about these sets of links. So if you go through those links later when we give you the data in your archive, you can start to understand how people feel about the topic in a holistic point of view, where we've already gone through and categorized people's impressions about the links in the media for you, so you can go into that summary and process it in a faster way. Let's talk about people for a second. If I want to know about people who are, let's say, brand promoters or people who are interested in my brand, people who would be good to send products to so they can talk about them on Twitter, people with high clout and high engagement with my brand. There's this concept of clout, people that have influence within the Twitterverse or within social media or within Facebook. And there's this thought process that maybe these people, I want to give them my products so they can test them out. If they like them, they can talk to their constituents and try to get them on board with my products. But this works even better when you find somebody who has high clout, who's already sold into your brand, so who's going to be favorable when he's testing that product. So there's a couple of cool things that you can do with Clarus. I mean, if you think about sentiment as one dimension in the matrix and you think about these objects as another dimension, we multiply them together. And so we understand each one of these cells, how people feel about it, positive or negative, and we deliver that data to you as top 10 lists or as a complete archive. Then going in from there one step deeper. See, there's always one step deeper. This is why Clarus is powerful. 3 levels of analysis. First thing is we archive things for you. 2 is we do sentiment analysis. 3 is we do sentiment analysis for each of the objects in the stream. 4, which is what makes Clarus really powerful, is we extract adjectives and adverbs out of the stream, and we call this attributes. So we understand product and brand attributes that people are talking about in the stream. So we extract these adjectives and adverbs out of the stream, and we multiply those into the sentiment of those individual tweets. And so I start to understand now what are the positive attributes of this brand, what are the negative attributes of this brand. Just looking at the top 10 list, how many tweets have mentioned this attribute, and how many of those tweets were positive, how many tweets mentioned economic, for example, and how many of those were negative. Using that, I can get an insight into the product or the brand without having to look into the individual tweets. And that's really actionable for me as a company or for me as a brand or for me as a product manager. It's actionable for me to understand what people are saying about my products and who are the most influential people talking about my products. So if I can engage with those people, then I can positively affect or influence the impression of my brand in social media. So you want to be part of the conversation. You don't want to control the conversation. You can't really control social media. There's no way to control the storm that is Twitter. You can understand it. and you can analyze it and you can learn from it. And that's what we're trying to do with Clarus. There's two more points that I want to make really quickly. I know this is getting to be a long video, but two more points that I want to make. One is the traditional focus groups and traditional feedback groups, they don't work because people have this psychology where even if I were to sit in front of Ford and talk about the Mustang, there are some things that I don't like about the Ford Mustang, like the live rear axle, which is the linked rear suspension, and how that affects the car in handling. It's really good for straight line acceleration, for drag racing. It's not good for going around corners. Ford knows this, and it's part of the product identity, and they'd like to keep it. But if I sit in a meeting with a Ford executive and I start to criticize his Mustang, I'm not going to tell him that I don't like this about your car. But if I go on social media, I might just tweet, oh, I wish Ford had an independent rear suspension. And this is the power of Twitter, is that people talk with transparency because they're talking to their friends. They don't feel like they're talking directly at the brand. When they talk directly to your brand, usually there's a problem and they either want to complain to you or there's something really good going on and they want to thank you in front of everybody. But for everything in between that range of conversation that can happen about your product or your brand, people are not going to talk to you directly. They're going to talk to their friends. They're going to say bad things about you. They're going to give you honest reviews. I like this, but I hate that. And Clarus allows you to capture that honest conversation from your customers or your prospective customers. So prospective customers and existing customers talking about positive and negative things about your products and services. One thing I want to cover before we go, one last thing, is market research. I watched this show last week called The C-Suite on Bloomberg TV. They're talking about how Domino's went through a transformation of recreating their new and inspired pizza, how everything about the product was poor from a customer point of view. People didn't like the pizza sauce. They said it tasted like ketchup, and people didn't like the crust. They said it tasted like cardboard. And so Domino's had a redesign of their pizza. People didn't say this, and this is the distinction. People didn't say in the focus groups that they didn't like Domino's pizza. The sales kept dropping year on year, and Domino's couldn't figure out exactly what was going on until they really pressed hard to look for what was wrong with their pizza and why their sales were bad, and they found out that the product itself had slipped compared to competitors in the market, and so they weren't the best pizza anymore, and so they lost sales. So if I'm trying to come into the market and I want to create a new restaurant, for example, or I want to create a new product, or I want to create a new hamburger as part of a new line in an existing franchise, or as part of a new franchise entering a market, what I can do is I can look for that product name and that market geolocation, combine those two together, get all the tweets back, and the advantage of the Clarus system is that we analyze attributes for those products. So I can tell you that, for example, people don't like spicy burgers. If we find that the word spicy comes out with a negative sentiment when I'm looking at burgers for the location Saudi Arabia, then I'm not inclined to create a spicy burger brand to start to enter into the market, because I know that's something that people don't want. So what we're going to do is do market research based on capitalizing on the information that's already being said about similar products, or the products that you want to produce, similar product ideas or similar concepts that exist out there. Another thing is you can look at the media. Social media is really powerful because of the media, not just the social aspect. I've been focusing on the social aspect and what people say. There's also the media. When I give you the images, the links, and the videos that people are sharing, when you look at what people are sharing, you can get ideas for new product ideas. You can get ideas for what people like. Because when somebody shares something online that's really intimate, that's powerful, and that says something, it says, I endorse this, or I really hate this. And so when you know what people are endorsing, or what they really hate, you have a really good understanding of their psychology, and it gives you an advantage when trying to release new products into market. So that's ClarusIO for you. It's a really good product. It clarifies social media data, and it does two things. It allows you to monitor your brand, your products, your hashtags, or your events, and it also allows you to do forward-looking market research and figure out what kind of products or services you want to release into the market. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at any time. Just email hello@clarusio.com. You can also tweet us. We have at ClarusIO on Twitter, and we'll get back to you and hopefully clarify how you can use Clarus to your advantage to enter the market or to monitor your existing campaigns.